students, welcome to Radiant Coaching and Training Center. Uh, we mainly focus on keeping or learning basics to students and to teach the basics level of every subject. And today we are going to discuss about the very important topic of chemistry, that is atomic structure, and it is very important in JEE, NEET and all the entrance level examinations point of view. So every year we get 2 to 3 questions from this chapter. So in this lesson we are going to start with the basics, what you learn from a school level. So what we studied about atomic structure in previous classes. You might be studying about, or you know that atom is the smallest or the finest particle that a matter contains. And you already know that if you take a solid, in solid the particles or the atoms are very tightly packed, right? So these are called solids, which have very tightly packed atoms. And liquids have an IMS. What is IMS? Intermolecular space. So there is an IMS, there is space between the molecules, we call it as IMS or intermolecular space. In gases, the IMS is more when compared to the liquids. The IMS is more when compared to the liquids, right? So what commonly we find in all this? We commonly find that there is atom. What we have? Atom in any matter. Any matter contains atom. So, as John Dalton said, atom is the finest particle that cannot be dissociated anymore. It means he know that, or he studied that, he gave a clear-cut information that atom is the finest particle that cannot be dissociated. But later on, by doing some more activities and some more experiments, scientists have proved that no, atom is not the finest particle. It also contains some particles inside it, right? And they were proved later on by different successive experiments by different scientists. So we're going to discuss about all those things in atomic structure lesson. Suppose before going to start the main concept of intermediate, let me ask you a question. Let me challenge you that you are a scientist. Assume that you are a scientist. Just pause this video and try to ask your mind these questions. The task what you have is, if you are a scientist, you have been given a task that you have to find the particles which are present inside the atom. And what are the tough tasks that you have? Nobody has seen the atom even till now. So atom is the finest particle of a matter that cannot be dissociated anymore. So you have to study the particles that you can't see, and you have to know the things that are present inside the atom that you can't see. So how will you do the activity and what will you do? Just pause this video and try to get the answers in your mind. Okay, after thinking the questions about it, you may be getting different questions based on this. Now come to the topic that to find the particles which are present inside the atom, we are studying normally. The scientists have struggled a lot. They have conducted so many activities to know the particles present inside the atom, right? So before going to know the activities, we first see what are the subatomic, what are the particles which are present inside the atom. So the particles which are present inside the atom are called subatomic particles. So what are subatomic particles? The particles which are present inside the atom are called subatomic particles. You assume atom itself is invisible. Nobody has seen till now. Now you have to study the things which are present inside the thing which you can't see. So that is the task. and they have found that there are three subatomic particles. The first one, electrons, protons, neutrons. So they found these three things in the atom. So how they found it? How they found these things in the atom? So now we're going to discuss about the different activities that are conducted by the scientists to know this particle. The first and very important particle that was discovered first is electron. So when it is discovered first, it was not named as an electron, right? So the activity that helped us to study or to know the about electrons is cathode ray tube experiment. Cathode ray tube experiment. So what is this cathode ray tube experiment? So how they have conducted it, and what are the results that were coming out? So please remember, to do any activity, we have to focus on what we are aiming for. What is our aim? Why we are doing the activity? What is the process and what are the results that are coming out? So why we are doing this activity? To find the electrons in an atom, right? Initially when this activity was done, they were not known about the electrons, but later on they came to know that yes, these are electrons, right? So to do this activity, they have taken a tube, a long tube, a cylindrical tube, and it is closed at the two ends, and it is connected to a vacuum pump. This tube is connected to a vacuum pump, and two ends of the tube were connected to a electric circuit, right? So there is an electric circuit which is connected to a current source, right? So what are the things what we have taken? A tube, and which is connected to a wire, which is connected to a electric circuit. Now we have what we have inside this tube. We have, if nothing is present means we should assume that it has gas or air, we say, right? So what is present in this tube? Air is present in this tube, right? What we do before going to start this activity is we going to create some vacuum. Some vacuum means we remove some amount of air that is present in this tube out with the vacuum pump. So after removing some amount of air, the first condition that is occurred in this tube is low pressure. So what the first condition? Low pressure, which was occurred in it. Now the second condition we are giving is high voltage. So what are the two conditions we have created here? Low pressure by removing the gas, high voltage by supplying the electricity. And please remember, generally air or any gas you take, it's a very poor conductor of electricity. You all know that. Suppose for example, nearby our any electric circuit failure or breakage or dismantling happens, right? You will not get the shock to you. That means air is not conducting that electric charge to you. But here in this case, as you have nothing inside but you removed some amount of air and created low pressure. At low pressure and high voltage, gases are very good conductors of electricity. So please remember, the two conditions are low pressure and high voltage. In these two conditions, gases are very good conductors of electricity. So as we have created this condition, we have a high voltage. So here we created a negative charged electrode. We call it as cathode. We call it as cathode. And the opposite is anode. positively charged, right? And as you pass the charge or electricity, they found that some particles are moving from cathode towards the anode. Cathode towards the anode. So by moving these particles, right? But remember, we can't see this. We have to find this by using another screen. We call it as fluorescence screen by keeping here, right? You keep a fluorescence screen here. If this cathode rays, the rays are called cathode rays, which are starting from the cathode. That way we call them as cathode rays. So they travel from cathode to anode, right? And if you keep a fluorescent screen or phosphorescent screen, they starts glowing when these rays are falling on the screen. So by knowing this, we can study that some particles are moving from cathode to anode, right? Suppose assume if atom time ka pause, as the electrons are hitting the fluorescent screen, it starts glowing. So by observing this, the scientists have surprised that if atom is the finest particle, if it doesn't have any subatomic particles inside it, why there is a charge difference in the atom, and why the atoms are moving from cathode to anode? So these type of questions started arising. So then they later on found that there are particles which are present inside the atom because of these two conditions of low voltage and low pressure and high voltage. They are moving from cathode to anode, and they were called initially as cathode rays. Later on they were called negatrons. And after some days, it was named as electrons. So this is the theory about electrons. So in the same way as like the electrons, in the same discharge tube activity, the scientists have found the protons also, protons too. And as the electrons are moving from cathode to anode, protons are moving from anode to cathode in the same activity, right? But here the particles are moving, but in the opposite direction, ions were moving, a positive charge. Ions were moving from anode to cathode. As these are called cathode rays, they are called as anode rays. And by studying these cathode rays and anode rays, scientists have found the different properties of a subatomic particles. And they have different properties like cathode rays always travel in a straight line. That doesn't take any deviation. So if they started from here, they travel strictly to anode, they don't take any deviation. And next, in the same way, if you keep any electric field or magnetic field in this tube, if you keep this tube in an electrical field or a magnetic field, you will find the deviation in this cathode rays. How much impact it have, that much deviation will be observed. So that means the cathode rays are reacting to the magnetic field as well as electric field. As you already studied in your lower class, you already know that if a magnetic field is present, obviously it contains an electrical field. If an electric field is present, obviously it contains a magnetic field. So because of the magnetic property of the inserted characters, they are showing deviation. In the same way, even anode rays are also showing deviation towards the movement of particles, right? And so today we discussed about what is an atom and what are the subatomic particles. Initially we studied about electrons and protons, and the discovery of neutrons we discuss in the next class. And with that we studied about electrons and protons, right? Now about neutrons we discuss in the next class. If you have any doubts in this videos, you can just comment in the comment section. If you like the video, please like it, share it and subscribe our channel Radiant Tutorials. Thank you students. That's all for the day.